All right, what up? I'm on the beast side of this walking through this parking lot area right now, trying to take like a mid-range walk. It's not like a super short one. It's not 2 miles, probably about 3 miles. Keep having things biting my legs. That's why I usually wear pants. All right, so like something else I was thinking about. I was thinking about like questions I get asked a lot when I'm doing workshops and things like this. So earlier on the A side of this walk, I was talking about this whole thing with diagnoses, right? Like having a diagnosis, what's the benefit, right? But also in the neurodiversity movement, there's this whole thing where a lot of folks don't have a diagnosis, but they're like, I know I'm this thing, right? There's pros and cons with that. I overall see it as a good thing. Helps as a sign that the awareness and is increasing and the stigma is decreasing and the general knowledge about these things and the acceptance of these things are increasing faster than the mental health and medical community is increasing to meet the demand. That's what it shows to me, right? Some other things that I get asked, or another thing I get asked is, how do you find a therapist, right? So if you're neurodivergent, autistic, ADHD, dyspraxic, dyslexic, whatever, right? And you're trying to find a therapist, how do you know that therapist is right for you? First of all, let me say it's a really hard process. It really shouldn't be this hard. Insurance doesn't treat us therapists very well. Psychologists a little bit better, but I'm not a psychologist. People think I'm a psychologist, but I'm a counselor. That's a little different, all right? Basically, it means I get paid less. All right, so like other differences, types of assessments that you're able to do based on your experience and your license and your credentialing. Psychologists have a national credentialing. Counselors don't yet. We have some ones for certifications, but not ones for licenses yet. But when you're trying to find a person, how do you know that person is good? You got to decide what you really want, right? So I'll say I usually try to find Black clinicians because I don't want to sit here and have to explain racism to someone because they don't understand it, regardless if they're white or maybe Latino, or maybe they are like of an Indian background or something else, right? I don't want to have to explain what anti-Black racism looks like. This is a real thing. I'm not here to get questioned on that at this point in time. I need someone who gets it, who can process that. However, I've had some white clinicians who were amazing, who were able to see that. If I challenged them on something like they had some stuff in their intake form that really just didn't work for ADHD folks, like you might have something that says, it doesn't list ADHD anywhere on there, but it's like, do you struggle with any of these issues? And it'll have anxiety and depression. Pretty much everyone who has ADHD has some form of anxiety and depression. It's just a reality. But ADHD isn't on there. So it's like, what am I supposed to do on that intake form? Another example is like some of these very in-depth questions about familial background. I understand some people have that and it's nice to have, but a lot of Black folks don't know what that is for themselves because you just go 1 and 2 generations back. Black folks didn't have access the way that we have access now to medical care, and it's still not good now, right? Especially like mental health care. And then when we did have access, we got treated wrong. I mean, read The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. That was in Maryland. My family was in that area. I remember hearing all these stories about Johns Hopkins and all these crazy experiments and stuff like that was going on. So when you're looking for a therapist, one of the best things to do is find someone who's strengths-based. Doesn't mean that strengths is all that they do, but maybe it is. But you need someone to help focus on strengths, right? I don't particularly look for someone who is specific in ADHD or neurodivergent issues unless I'm really seeking like coaching in that area, right? Even as a coach myself for C-level executives and like, VPs and stuff like that, and even some of their new hires, I still need coaching myself on some things, right? Because I get caught up in my own loops that I have. So when I'm looking for coaching, sometimes I'll try to find someone who's ADHD specific or just neurodivergent specific or even autistic specific, because sometimes I don't know if I'm not autistic, honestly. looking at my familial background, looking at how well I can mask and code switch and all these things, and really understanding what some of my base level patterns are, it can make sense, right? Especially looking at like my kids and my mom's background, other family members and stuff. So anyway, strengths, right? What are some other things that I need? I don't want someone who like predominantly practices a style of therapy or a modality that really focuses on deficits. So like ABA therapy is like that. That doesn't mean that every ABA practitioner is like bad and that they don't understand how to incorporate strengths. I've met some that do. I've met some who I think do a great job because they understand the weaknesses with that approach and they make adjustments for that. You would never know that unless you talked to those people, reached out and had a conversation with them. So it's hard. You're probably going to have, on average, try about 3 people before you find someone that really clicks, which means you're going on anywhere from 1 to 3 sessions with those people before you really understand, hey, do I work well with them, right? And that's challenging, and that's time, and that's money, and I get it, right? So really think about like what's your core needs. Do you need to unpack some depression, some anxiety? Do you need to explore some issues from your childhood that are going around? Are you having issues with a spouse or parents or just at work, right? What are the issues that you need to unpack? Do you just not have a good understanding of yourself, right? Do you need some specific things because you feel out of order as someone who is neurodivergent, right? Those are all different needs. And so when you look at a therapist's website, what kind of words are they using? Are they using people first or person first terms? Person with ADHD, person with autism? Doesn't mean that they are going to be a bad practitioner, but that could be a sign that they operate from more of a medical model, more of a deficit-based model, right? Or are they using words, neutral terms, like someone on the autism spectrum, or identity first terms, someone who's autistic, an ADHDer? All those things are signs that that person probably has an understanding of neurodiversity, or at least an understanding of strengths-based approaches, but it's not 100%. So you got to read the signs on the website. You got to look at what their modalities are, if they mention any of them, right? Does it speak to you? But you got to have like a conversation. Most therapists will do an initial 30-minute consultation. Some do, some don't. I do, just because I don't take on a large pool of clients. I probably only take about like on max like 7 to 8 clients at a time. That way I can dedicate a lot of time to my clients. That way I also don't get bogged down only doing therapy, because I also do consulting and some other stuff that I'm doing right now too. So that's my opinion. That's my background. You can, or my answer to that question rather, take it or leave it. I hope that helps. But regardless of what you do, the point is to get out there and do something. If we want to break these patterns that we feel stuck in, if we want to keep moving forward, we got to move forward. We got to keep walking. Oh, you know it. Let's go. Let's get it.